My name is Raymond Arturo Perez, and the last few days I've been going on live to talk about different aspects of my writing journey. Today is no different. Today I'll be talking about how I received representation with an agent, manager, and an attorney, and since I've lost it all. But before I do, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the earthquakes that have happened in Venezuela, that have happened in Colombia. I'm gonna drop some organizations that are supporting relief benefits. Venezuela looked really rough. I just saw some videos from my frat bro and his family. The infrastructure of folks' homes is, if not completely damaged, severely damaged. So yeah. If you can help. But yeah, so going to representation, I feel like that's like a buzzy word, especially if you're coming into the industry. Like, you gotta find a way into a writer's room, you gotta get into a mail room, you gotta get your manager, you gotta get your agent, you gotta get your attorney. All these things without any semblance of how. And I think for me, the most important thing for today is just like stay in your lane. And I mean that not in like a stay in your lane, but like stay in your lane in that, like, stay focused. Focus on your writing. Like, because good writing is good writing. If you are a network guru and you end up meeting the cousin of the best friend of the ex of a Kardashian, good for you. You did it. But one thing that for sure you can get a hold of is your own writing. And so when I say stay in your lane, I mean like stay focused on your craft, stay focused on your samples, so that when the opportunity to connect with someone in the industry who might be able to push you forward occurs, you'll be ready. But anywho, so how did I get representation? I think the year was 2019. I'm a backtrack before getting who would become my agent. But I started grad school in 2017, and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a little gym pass to LA Fitness, $10 a month, $30 if you go any location. Not sponsored, but available for sponsorships. LA Fitness. And I'm gonna work out 5 a.m. every morning. And, you know, that first semester, I hit the pavement really hard. And by the second day, I realized me and this person have the exact same schedule. So, one of the days, I introduced myself, and, like week 2 or something, or week 3. I was like, yo, we have the exact same schedule. What's up? And they're like, we do. Not much. And I introduced myself. I'm a screenwriter. My first semester of AFI, and they're like, "Oh, cool! I'm an assistant for a talent agent." That's wrong. I'm an assistant for a literary agent, and I'm like, "What are the chances?" And honestly, this story is not like. It's not unique by any means. I feel like this always happens. Someone's standing in line for chocolate in Santa Monica, and then they meet the person who hires them on a TV show. My friend from high school, shout out to Nicole Lambden, was just here with her husband from somewhere outside the outskirts of Amarillo. And they were getting some, I don't know if I should blow up their spot like that. They were getting some extracurricular activities. And at that place was the writer of Fallout. Just vibes, you know? Which is why I think I want to take a step back and say it is still, in the year of our Lord 2026, important to be based in Los Angeles, because you still got to network your butt off, and most of the decision making and the writers' rooms and the people and the powers that be, for lack thereof, are all based in Los Angeles. So it's really, really crucial that you're here, because then you can run into whoever the new Shonda Rhimes is, whoever the writer of Fallout is, etc., etc. So my not as high up person was flash this. You're crazy. That was Theo. Theo's in the chat. None of this gets posted when I post the live, so I'm gonna start calling people out. I'm gonna call all y'all out. Shout out to me primo. Shout out to my frat bro in the chats. But no, so what I'm getting at is he was a assistant for a literary agent, and I was like, cool. And then we kind of never talked about that again. We just kept working out and like living our lives. And a few months passed around this time. So now fast forward, it's like 2018 or 2019, and the writers dropped their agents. There was a disagreement between the writers and agencies on packaging, and because they felt like it was a conflict of interest for agencies to be able to package because they were foregoing properly representing and being I'm forgetting on the exact term, but essentially their fiduciary duty to their writers was being sidelined to package a project instead. And so the writers dropped all their agents at that time, and we weren't even allowed to have agents. So one day, homie, we'll call him homie. Homie was like, "You should meet my buddy. He's a agent for literary." So I was like, "I can't," but as soon as this is over, I'm down to like have a breakfast. I don't know. Long story long, vibed. Great person. We ended up together for a great deal of years. And that agent at Bookwald ended up leaving and going to Rain Management. So he ended up becoming my manager. All because of a workout buddy. Once I got a manager, I was looking at agencies, and I got hit up by some of the larger agencies. There used to be like the top 5. I think it's consolidated to 4 and like 3 smaller ones. I don't really know. I ain't got an agent right now, so I'm not paying attention that much. I am staying in my lane and staying focused on my writing. But I got a couple of folks interested from different agencies, and so I met with them for breakfast. And what I was using as a kind of temperature check was I would send out some log lines of scripts that I'd finished. I'd send 2 samples, a writing sample and a film sample, unless they asked for something else. And then during the breakfast, I'd see how they pitched my projects to me. And if I felt like they understood my story, I felt like, okay, we can actually have a conversation about coming together. So I ended up eventually getting with APA, which is now has a new name. So I had my manager, my agent, and my attorney came through. I hate cold calls. I hate cold emails. I hate reaching out. I know some writers do that a lot to varying degrees of success. Shout out to y'all. It is necessary sometimes, but I hate it. Anywho, I found out that I got into the writer's room for Selena, and I was like, I don't have a manager, I don't have an agent, which is kind of great because you don't have to give your percentage of your monies to anybody. But I should probably have an attorney to look over all the materials that I'm about to sign my life away to. So I need one, and I need an entertainment attorney who's used to the language that's used in the industry. So I looked up the email for one of the writers of Ugly Betty, who's from Mexico but works in the U.S. and gets a U.S. dollar. And I reached out to her and I was like, yo, who are you represented by? I'm not asking for a job. I'm simply asking to be connected to your attorney, which will get 5% or whatever pennies I get. So that happened. They looked over my thing. They're like, yeah, this is like boilerplate, whatever. Just sign your life away. And I was like, okay, cool, work. And that's how I got my manager, agent, and attorney. The differences between them. So like an agent's the person who's supposed to be legally able to negotiate for you in like the state of California. In the absence of an agent, it's your manager. Your manager, so if like the agent's always trying to get you the next job, they probably have the most access in the industry. Then the manager is next in line if you don't have an agent. And the manager is looking at you, allegedly, as a creative. Looking at you and your, not just your next job, but like your future goals and how you're getting there. They're your manager. They're managing your career trajectory, ideally. And then an attorney is actually looking at your contracts, all of them, all the language that goes in there, and should be constantly alongside your attorney, depending on who you have on your payroll, negotiating on your behalf. I feel like there's an additional conversation to be had about a lot of tea that I've found working for different companies, I won't name them, over the years, where I have read many a contracts. And if anyone's actually listening to these conversations, I'll just drop this, and maybe we can get into it in a future live. But contracts pre-George Floyd, contracts post-George Floyd. Cool. Bookmark that. Moving forward. So I kind of already cut to the chase, but I really do feel like for a manager and for an agent, for people who will be speaking to what you are going to contribute creatively to some degree, to varying degrees, who are going to be pitching you to different production companies, studios, and networks, they should understand who you are. They should be able to speak to you as a creative. And so I do think it's important, not just that they've read your work, but that they're able to speak to your work and share your work to other people. So let's say you do get a breakfast or a lunch with a manager, agent, or, well, I really don't think attorneys need to be able to communicate your work. It'd be nice, but I don't think it's as necessary as a manager or agent. In that breakfast or lunch, don't just ask them, what'd you think of the story? Ask them, like, you know, in your own words, what would you say my script is about? What do you think? Do you have any feedback? After that conversation's over, I then go a step further and ask, you know, where do you see my career going? What are some options that you think might be available if we were to come together? I think it's not abnormal to ask for a 1-year plan, for first steps. What my manager and agent were able to do is get me over easily, which is a lot of work, by the way, but over 100 general meetings, or what they call like the water bottle tour, which in the olden days was when you would go to different studios, networks, or production companies, and you'd have in-person meetings to discuss perhaps a writing sample and what you're working on next, as well as potentially connect to any staffing opportunities that production company, studio, or network have available for you based on your voice, your experiences, etc. And the reason why it's called the water bottle tour is because as you were waiting in the waiting room to meet with whichever exec you're going to meet with, the assistant or executive assistant or someone would come up to you and say, would you like a water bottle? And so at the end of the meeting, as you'd leave with your water bottle, hence the water bottle tour. So I feel great. I think that at the bare minimum, your representation should be able to give you intros to different different production companies, studios, or networks. I think that's where I'll stop for now. I feel like there's many questions to be had to like add to this conversation about representation, but I'll stop there. And yeah, if you want to know what projects I'm working on, my latest short film project is called Where We Will Be Tomorrow, and you can find out more about that in my bio, like links there with the project description, the story, the cast that's attached. The team is incredible, and we recently became fiscally sponsored, so if you guys have money to invest and you want a tax write-off because you don't want your money going to places that they shouldn't be going to, invest it in the arts, invest it in my next project. Thank you for watching. See y'all.